Ask Reddit what movie is a 10/10? Alien, 1979. My favorite movie of all time. Aliens always gets mentioned, but the original was always the best. Sci-fi horror at its best. I agree. I thought the hugely popular comment above was a typo when they made Alien plural. City of God. I can't really explain why because I haven't studied films and stuff. Yes, I adore this film. Think it is my favorite ever. It is horrifying and yet heartwarming and comfortable at the same time. A scene I always remember is where Benny chases after the pale redhead kid, Tiago, on his racing bike. Tiago lets him win because he's scared, but Benny just gives him money to get him clothes like his. Then Benny struts into the gang meeting guys. I've become a playboy. Then the end shows the real TV footage of Knockout Ned, and you realize you've been watching a true story. It is indeed a perfect film. Guess I know what I'm watching today. My daughter is 15 and I'm waiting to show it to her. Soon. That and La Haine, they have been my favorited films for decades. 12 Angry Men. Every time I watch it, I find new details to admire. Edit, the 1957 version, and be sure to check out Fargo, 1996. The performances in this movie by Frances McDormand, William H. Macy and Steve Buscemi were all career-defining performances, but what I don't see mentioned enough is how the movie is an antidote for Tarantino's style of criminals. Pulp Fiction is out of this world, but it led to every director trying to write smart, well-read criminals who talk about TV and movies. A big example would be Bad Boys, whereas the Coens created idiotic criminals who keep making mistakes and aren't cool in any way. They even start the movie off by messing up the time for their meeting. I've watched this movie so much, I think I could quote it in my sleep. My cousin Vinny. 'Cause Chevy didn't make a 327 in 55, the 327 didn't come out till 62. And it wasn't offered in the Bel Air with a 4-barrel carb till 64. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees before top dead center. I really like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Aside from Jack and Nurse Ratched, Cheswick, Sidney Lassick, Harding, William Redfield, and Billy, Brad Dourif, all gave incredible performances, with Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd playing lesser roles, no less. Clue, 1985. One of the funniest movies I have watched, and I still quote it in regular interactions. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Every cook will tell you that. But look what happened to the cook. Communism was just a red herring. I'm always looking for an opportunity to say now I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife. Amadeus. God, why the hell does Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart have such a cool name? His baptized name is even cooler, Johannes Chrysostomus Wolfgangus Theophilus Mozart. Silence of the Lambs, no doubt. My grandma, I think she didn't know any better, took me to the movies when I was about 13 to see a double feature of Silence of the Lambs and Terminator 2. What a day. God bless your grandma. Mine loved to watch hockey and roller derby for the fights. Stand By Me. I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, does anyone? Perfect casting and nearly line by line faithful to Stephen King's novella. I consider it one of his best works, and it was incredibly gratifying to have it done justice on film. I could say much the same for Shawshank, but The Body and Stand By Me gets the edge. Odd fact nobody knows or cares about: my brother won a contest held by Levi Jeans to be an extra on the film, and meet Stephen King. My brother was 18, but unfortunately my dad was skeptical of the whole thing and took a cash value of $1,800 for it. All they told us was it was a story about young kids that find a dead body. The cash was quickly spent and forgotten, and my brother is still sore about it all these years later. The Thing. The research station at the South Pole has an annual tradition. At the start of the winter over, when they're totally isolated, and it's always night, the whole crew gets together and watches The Thing and The Shining back to back. In my opinion, this is the best horror movie and one of the best movies ever made. It's got everything: a great cast of characters, gruesome special effects that still hold up, aliens, a banger of an ending. I cannot overstate how much I love this movie. 7. 15 hours later, awesome to see that so many Redditors have excellent taste in movies. There's still hope for the world. Morgan Freeman is the greatest. Detective. I think you're looking for me. Goodfellas. One dog goes one way, the other dog goes the other way, and this guy's saying what do you want from me? Terminator 2. Is this the one when he walks into the bar with no cloths on and all the women almost cream in there? Yes, and I almost creamed in my. 11 out of 10. I would go back in time to watch it for the first time again. Still blows my mind it's 4 years older than me watching it nowadays. Best movie of all time. That would be a good sequel, Arnold going back in time, not to save John Connor, but to watch a decent movie before they messed it up with all the sequels. Or make a movie where Arnold sleeps with the maid. Wait, I think he did that already. Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks is an absolute genius. I loved Mel Brooks' comment when a reporter said, "You couldn't have made that in current year?" Brooks, "We couldn't then, but we did it anyways." I'm paraphrasing, but you get the point. I think the sheriff is remind me of the Republican Party. I have seen it dozens of times, including all the DVD extras. Some of the best satire to come out of the 20th century in any art form, in my opinion. Pryor was originally slated to play Bart, but was a tad unreliable for reasons. His writing is all over that script though. I love the part where the Sioux chief, played by Mel Brooks, explains in Yiddish that the black settlers are not Meshuggah, aka Gentiles. Gattaca is a really cool watch. Not for everyone though. We watched this in school when we were learning about DNA and I was the only person that loved it. We ran out of time and because the class was so unenthused we never finished it. I've never seen the ending to this day. But I loved it. I watched it in high school biology when it first came out. I don't remember if everyone liked it, but screw them. I loved it and just watched it a few days ago. Aliens. Aliens and T2 are both 10/10. The Abyss is great as well. James Cameron has had quite the run. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I just love it so much. Tombstone. Why? Johnny Ringo. You look like someone just walked over your grave. Fight's Not With You, Holiday. Kilmer's performance in this film is the greatest performance of all performances which were not given an Oscar nom. It's also better than several that were. I'm Your Huckleberry. Saving Private Ryan. There's an amazing moment in the drunk tank era of Rooster Teeth, where someone tells a story about their cousin serving a shot to the liver, and Bernie goes, "The liver? That's what killed Giovanni Ribisi." And then everyone just stops and looks at him and he sheepishly goes, "In Saving Private Ryan. Doesn't he ask for his mother?" He cries for his mother, and it's gut-wrenching. Yeah, that's the absolute worst part. Spirited Away. There's not a single wasted frame in this movie in my opinion. And the soundtrack is just amazing. Definitely my favorite Ghibli film. I felt like watching a weird dream. Or one of dream I used to have as a kid. The movie kept me off balance continually. Like the batshit no-face climaxes followed by the most incredibly chill train ride. Spirited Away was the first Japanese film I ever watched. I thought it was okay, but I didn't understand the hype. Later on I watched My Neighbor Totoro, and it struck a chord. It was much more light-hearted and whimsical. Because of that connection I had the first time, it's my favorite of the Ghibli movies. Spirited Away is a better movie, now that I've watched it a few more times. I can't ignore how awesome the first time watching My Neighbor Totoro when ranking them though. 12 Angry Men, 1957. Somehow a movie about 12 guys arguing in a closed room is absolutely riveting. Lord of the Rings. And Life is Beautiful. Absolutely LOTR. But in particular, I can watch Fellowship over and over and over. 100% agree. I hadn't read the books at the time I first saw Fellowship in the theater, and I can't overstate the foreboding sense of what is to come. that I felt in the time between Frodo inheriting the ring and the four hobbits leaving Bree with Strider. Those 20 minutes or so are amongst my favorite in film history, and the best exposition I believe I've ever seen. The Usual Suspects. Literally one of two movies that made my jaw drop. Nobody prepared me for it. It was so good. I loved the part where they had the guys read the line for the lineup. I laughed my ass off. Kevin Spacey at his finest. Jurassic Park 1993. A true cinematic masterpiece. That score when they first see the dinosaurs gets me every time. My fave is the shot when Dr. Grant, Ellie, and the kids are rescued by the T-Rex. It turns around and roars as the dinosaurs ruled the Earth banner falls down around it. That was my laptop background for the longest. What an awesome shot. What's amazing is that they captured that in just one take. Because the T-Rex ate the camera crew immediately after that shot. Jurassic Park is widely considered to be the first found footage film. The Mummy, 1999. Still remember opening night when my parents went to see it, but left me home with my grandparents because I was too young. 2 years later, I was in the theater opening night for The Mummy Returns. Of course my dad found a way to show me The Mummy in the months prior. 2 decades later, after literally hundreds of rewatches, I can't think of 2 films in a series I'd rather watch at any given time. Maybe nostalgia has something to do with that. But, at least in my eyes, The Mummy, 1999, still stands as the definition of a perfect monster movie. I would love it if The Mummy could break dance. What the H are you talking about? The Matrix. Oh shit. When this movie first came out we had never seen anything like it. It's worth reposting a comment from a few months back just to talk about how great the first-time viewing experience was. The marketing, and its lack of plot explanation were extremely important. The trailers did not explain the setup of the movie. The trailers gave you no context, they just showed you 20 to 30 seconds of people dressed in leather doing kung fu in ways we had never seen in a movie before. On our first viewing we had no idea what The Matrix was. We were also not used to superhero in movies at that point, the very first X-Men movie wouldn't be out for another year, and so the intensity and timbre of the action sequences were a brand new, never before seen experience. Imagine having never seen a superhero movie in your life, and watching this movie in a theater of a few hundred equally ignorant people watching the opening sequence with Trinity running from the agents. She's running off the wall, what the hell? Whoa! She's jumping from what the duck, how did she do that? What the fuck, the agent guy did it too? We were fresh. We were virginal. We were blown away, and the stinger of an ending with Keanu ducking flying with our ATM blasting had us leaving that theater flushed with dopamine and adrenaline. The Matrix did not need to go that hard, but it ducking did. The lobby scene, then the part with the helicopter, I was shitting myself. The Smith fight. Never had an experience like that in the theater since. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Who are you, who are so wise in the ways of science? There are some who call me Tim. Truman Show. Oh, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening and good night, smile. We watched and analyzed this in a college film class, if that means anything to it being a perfect film. I for one love that movie, and to this day I still think it's Carrey's best role. Yes, Reddit, better than Eternal Sunshine. The original Back to the Future. Original idea to start with, flawless screenplay where everything happens for a reason, entire last half hour full of payoffs. Bob Zemeckis is smiling somewhere. That is the power of love. You make it sound like he's dead. He's very much alive given he made Pinocchio this year. The Prestige definitely blew my mind. It's definitely worth it for David Bowie's portrayal of Tesla. That was Duckin' Davy Bowie? I had no idea. Haven't seen the move in quite a while, though. I just learned about the theory that Bowie played a Tesla decoy, and Andy Serkis was actually Tesla. Fun to think about.